We've all experienced that crazy feeling of having to get along with a bunch of weirdos that we don't know and survive in this box of a building that we're basically forced to go to as kids with good intentions of trying to help us to cram all this knowledge into our heads. But it often comes with so many traumatic and life-changing experiences. There was only a fine, very thin smidge of a line between sugar and crack cocaine. Well, Esquel, put a picture of a penis on the wall. Idiot, stupid, ass. Go piss open your mouth right now, because you said a bad word. She was dumb for getting caught. Pathetic. Going to a school run by a cult came with a lot of its challenges. The prophet or the leaders have full 100% say over all of the rules, all the guidelines, all the things that happen within this school. There's a lot of intricate details, but basically, I'm going to be talking about the school that was ran by the cult that I grew up in. A lot of the weird and strange things that happened inside of this school. Of course, being raised in a cult school, they had us pray before our classes and stuff, before we ate our lunches, and they had this thing called meditation. That wasn't just any normal meditation. It was like a very specific timed meditation. It was every morning at 7 a.m., every midday right at 12 o'clock, and then every evening or night at 7 p.m. And so there were 3 specific assigned times to meditate for exactly 5 minutes. So noonday we'd always be at school, so they'd literally have a bell called the meditation bell, and it would ring throughout the whole school, and everyone would just drop whatever you were doing. If you were in the middle of a class, if you were eating your lunch, if you were outside at recess, I remember everyone just dropped everything and would just sit down. No matter where you were at, you would just sit down and you would like fold your arms and bow your head, and it would just be 5 minutes of just pure silence. And if any of the kids would even like say stuff, all the teachers would go and quiet them down and make them be quiet and stuff, and it would just always be 5 minutes of just pure silence. And it still happens to this day. Like if you guys know where Ensign is, it's been on the news. If you're here in Utah, it's literally, I just for the heck of it, I drove past it right at 12 o'clock, and you'll see everyone just sitting down and it's all quiet. And the moment that 5 minutes is up, it gets super loud again and everything starts happening. But just for those 5 minutes, it just gets super quiet and they have the meditation. Also, some teachers, so there were punishments that were given. It's not as extreme and crazy as a lot of people think a school that was ran by a cult would be, because within a lot of the individual homes, there was a lot of beatings, a lot of abuse and crazy things that happened. But in the school, it was different because each family had different ways of punishing and stuff like that. So the school's biggest number one way of punishing is that they would have this thing where you would hold your hands up and you would either stand against a wall or have to do something that was like a type of humiliation, because they'd always have you do it in front of the whole class, and then it was supposed to cause some physical pain. That's why you had to hold your hands up and stuff like that. That was the main punishment that I remember having happen to me. But we oftentimes saw kids getting hit by teachers when those teachers got permission from those students' parents. And so a lot of the times we saw kids get beat in front of the whole class. Also, they always made sure they had pictures of the numbered men, the prophets and apostles of this cult, were on the walls of the lunchroom and in some of the hallways. It was really weird. Food is something that I hold very close to my heart. School lunches, I mentioned how disgusting and gross that they were, and sometimes the potatoes were just burnt and just nasty. They would never let you just skip it though. If you got your food, you had to eat it. They would force feed it to you. They would not let you throw it away. They had like a garbage monitor, having some teacher stand next to the trash can, making sure people didn't throw their food away. It was the worst. They're also trying to find any way that they can save money. So they would try to buy the most dirt cheap food ever. They would go to the stores when they were throwing out the produce. Like, it's so old and rotten, and they would have people go to those stores and get that produce that they're just trying to throw away, and they would bring it to the school, give it to the cooks there, and be like, good luck. This is what you have. Cook it, feed the 500 kids with it. There was also a lot of weird food beliefs within the group. There was only a fine, very thin smidge of a line between sugar and crack cocaine. So they would never put it in any of their stuff. In fact, they would always tell people to use honey as the only sweetener, sometimes molasses, which I don't think molasses is even a sweetener. They just tried to use it, I guess, or something. I don't know. Molasses is pretty gross. It's weird, black, gooey liquid stuff. Also, I think this was like a genetic thing because a lot of people in the cult had like a food allergy to sweets. So literally they could not have anything sweet, including honey and fruits. And so even though there were very, very minimal sweet things in our meals, like every once in a while they'd put a little bit of honey on the bread, or had some sort of like a salad dressing that had a sweetener in it, and the kids couldn't have that. So then they would have to make a special side dish that they would say is for the kids that can't have sweets. But yeah, surprisingly, there were a lot of people in the order that could not have sweets. What else? I know there was something else. Incest is a really popular thing within the order. So there actually are quite a few kids that have even like other types of birth defects or abnormalities or things like that, or people with special autistic traits or different things like that. The lunch lady, I think we just kind of called her the autistic lunch lady. It's kind of sad because they definitely do not give people with special needs the proper help and things that they need, and a lot of the times they just end up getting stuck in the worst situations and just getting very neglected and things like that. And this lady in particular, I remember she was a girl, and so the biggest purpose and meaning for women in this cult is to have babies. So they assigned her to marry someone, and they had them impregnate her, and she even had so many complications and like things go wrong with it that at one point she was talking to people saying that she is going to try and cut the baby out of her belly. It was really sad. They had this girl have a baby when she was not all the way there. Okay, another interesting thing about this school is that they would have TAs, and there was at one point where one of my sisters actually was a TA in one of these classes, and one of the assignments that they were given, my own sister, she was given the assignment as a TA to go through these books and rip out any pages that had pictures of black people in them. And it just kind of goes to show how racist this religion was. They literally had them rip out every single page of black people inside of the books they were only using these books because the state required them to use them. And so she literally went through and had to rip out every single page that had black people in it. Anyone that is associated with them at all knows how racist that they are. So that's just one example. They were just so strict. It even made me think of the conversation I had with my dad. He said something along the lines of, that's why you never mix races, you guys. No one should ever marry other races. You always have to marry your own races and things like that. And I was like, but why? And his explanation, I still remember it to this day because I remember it just being so weird. He was like, well, Esquil. I was like this little 9-year-old. Why, Daddy? And he's like, well, if you really need to know, if you can't just take my word for it and do everything I say without question, here's why, okay? And he said, if you take white paint and you take black paint and you mix them together, what do you get, Esquil? And I was like, I guess like a brown or something. He's like, you will always get black. Always. It'll never come out white. I was like, okay, geez. All right, whatever, fine. If that's how you see it, sure. And that was his explanation. Oh, it was so weird. But anyways, another thing that for me was just super crazy was, first of all, the fact that it was only co-ed classes up to 5th grade. So boys and girls were in the same classes until 5th grade. After 5th grade, they split them up for everything. And I think it was 6th grade because that's like the expected time that girls start having their period or something. I don't remember exactly why, but I just remember after 5th grade, it's like I rarely saw the girls, and they always kept us super split up and separate from each other. And it was just a huge deal to be caught like talking one-on-one with girls, or like trying to go out of your way to say hi to a girl, or just really do anything with girls at all. Sex ed. I do remember they had their technical sex ed class that was like a 30-minute class with at least for me. So I talked to a few of the girls, and basically for them, they talked a little bit about periods and gave them a bag with a pad. Now the weird thing is only some age groups got this, and it would just basically depend on if there was a girl brave enough or willing to teach it. They got a 30-minute little lecture about it. But yeah, there was not much actual education on it or specifics or anything like that. And then for mine, what I remember is we had 30 minutes of a really old guy, and I'll never forget because he put a picture of a penis on the wall. I don't even remember him talking about anything to do with sex ed. I just remember the picture of the penis on the wall and him saying things along the lines of, your body's going to change since you're getting older now. And that was basically it. Like, that's the only class, the only I don't even really want to call it a class, the only little bit of brief discussion on sex education throughout the entire school system that they have. I have gotten word that it's a little bit different now. And here's the thing though, that 30-minute like pathetic lecture that I got on it was more than what I got from my parents. The most that I got from anybody other than my friends, of course. People within the cult just do not talk about it. It's just crazy. Okay, and one thing that was also very weird about this school ran by a cult was the list of bad words that they had and the punishment for saying a bad word. Because I kid you not, I remember to this day kids having to put soap in their mouth when they said a bad word, and not even a swear word. Like, nobody said swear words in the cult, but if you said like idiot or stupid, ass. I do remember one of the kids saying ass, and he got in a lot of trouble, but he tried to defend it by saying, it says ass in the Bible, you can read it right here, and they were still just like, no, go piss open your mouth right now. But they were super strict about that stuff, but they did not care if you said the N-word or if you said the R-word. Those were fine for some reason, I don't know why, but some of the other most basic, dumb little words, you would have to go and put soap in your mouth if you said them, because you said a bad word. So yeah, even like way back in like the preschool and kindergarten, if you were old enough to go to the little red house school. And I remember in these classes, they would actually, there was one of the teachers that would have every single one of her students take super tonic, this like crazy concoction of like garlic and all these really strong things that are supposed to be healthy for you or something, that they like juiced them and liquefied into this thing called super tonic. But there was one teacher that would have all of her students have super tonic, and if that wasn't weird enough, the way she would give it to them, she would literally have them all line up, and she would pour it on a spoon and give it to the first kid, and then pour it on the same spoon and give it to the next kid, and just down the line gave every single kid a spoonful of super tonic with the same spoon. It sounds crazy, but that's how the order was, so about like, oh, we're all family, we don't, like, it's fine, we're all brothers and sisters. Like, they would take that to heart. They sure know how to save money though. Okay, so one funny story from the school is that for some reason the ceilings were like office ceilings, where they just had like these tiles and you could crawl up into them pretty easily. So it was like super common. Kids would crawl into them to get from one class to the next, or just, you know, playing tag or hide and seek. But I remember one time when my sister Cammie, she decided that she wanted to be fun and adventurous like all the other kids. So she goes to climb in one, and like it is weird because like they're like not very strong, so like they'll sometimes move and stuff. And she went to one part where somehow she got stuck up inside of the ceiling, and she had to send her friends to go and get help from like the different teachers and different people, and they had to come up and help her get unstuck from inside of the ceiling. I remember thinking, first of all, she was dumb for getting caught being in the ceiling. Second of all, I thought it was pathetic that she couldn't get herself out of the ceiling when she got herself up in there. Awesome. All right, well, that's how it was for me going to a school that was ran by a cult. Those are pretty much the biggest things that stand out to me that I can remember to share. Some of the crazy things that happened to me and just the weird things about the school. It is still up and running to this day, so a lot of people think polygamists and cults and things are of the past, but no, it's still happening. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed the stories. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments below. Hope you guys have a good one. Thanks. Bye.